Greetings, theists and non-theists. I am the Atheist Paladin. I like to do ASSINine creationist arguments. And if you've ever been in the discussion of when it comes to creationists and evolutionists, you'll inevitably hear the creationists say something like this. The creationists and the evolutionists are looking at the same evidence, but have different interpretations. Now, this saying strikes me as rather postmodern and relativist. It's sort of like saying what's true for me is not necessarily what's true for you. But putting this aside, I'm going to have to say somebody's full of shit. Because from this, if something is evidence for A or B, then when something is presented, it's not really evidence for either or. So either somebody is on the A side full of shit, or somebody on the B side is full of shit, or maybe both of them are full of shit, and they don't understand what their theory predicts, then it can't really be evidence for it. And so, this is completely bullshit. There are some things that evolution can only account for that creationism cannot. Absolutely not. So if we see something in evolution that is true, it's not really just a different interpretation. The evidence is simply not on your side. Take the two models proposed by creation and evolution. Evolution predicts nested hierarchies. When you take a population and the genetics vary over time, and you start putting different pressures on them, and as those populations split off, they become different species. As a result, we see a relation diagram called a cladiogram. So you might actually seen something like this, right? Well, according to creationism, their cladiogram would look like something like this, right? Each possessing their own little line. They might say, well, microevolution may be true. Damn, what did I do with my markers? I buried them. Okay. So they may, well, let's say it's not completely true, so they may have many cladiograms like that. But overall, it would look like something like a miniature bush instead of one great big tree, as we see in evolutionary diagrams. The problem is with that we actually construct it. Before genetics, these were actually constructed based on basically bone homology. Now overall, now that the dawn of genetics has come, they're now constructed via gene similarities and other techniques. And mostly that homology has been confirmed. There have been some upturns, but mostly overall that this basic structure has been confirmed. So we don't see anything like this in creationism. And we know this because we can do certain algorithms on the genes, and we can understand where they differ in the genes and what it would take from A to become B, C, D, E, or F, right? Now, if this was actually the case, where they all began either the same or differently, so if all the same gene was used here, and here, then when we did this over time, we would never see this ever when it comes to evolution. If creationism was true, we would never see this. And we see this not only for genes that actually encode for something. We actually do a gene and study the difference between all the species and create a cladiogram based on that. And then we can go to, say, a gene that is also disabled. A gene that is, say, in apes, that is disabled. The vitamin C gene. In most great apes, that gene is disabled and it's non-functional. And so it passing, it's the mutations in the genes are not preserved, or no, they're preserved, but there isn't any preservation due to natural selection. right? So it's not going to look a certain way because natural selection is no longer acting on those genes. So if it looks like something like that when we create a cladiogram, that almost makes that cladiogram almost certainly to be true. Now, I've actually heard creationist objections to this, that the hamster doesn't have working operating genes, but that's already been refuted. It's been disabled by a different mutation, and it's more similar still to rodents than it is to primates. So again, the cladiogram is still confirmed. And then there are other things that we use to confirm the cladiogram, such as ERVs. These are basically viruses that are inserted into our genome every time we get infected. So we're now actually using that to also pinpoint cladograms, and guess what? Still the same structure. So if we can take basically all these different data points and still keep on constructing the same tree over and over again, when you're going to realize that this doesn't work. It can't work. Creationism wouldn't allow something like that. That's not what creationism predicts. It wouldn't predict that when you draw these relation trees that you will get something like this. It's not possible. So they say, well, we just have the same evidence. No, you don't. Your head's buried in the sand, and the very thing that we predict is absolutely true and confirmed over and over again by observation and statistical analysis. If you want to know more about it, I'll link a video in the description that actually goes into this in more detail. And with that, thank you. So, I'm the Atheist Paladin, and remember, rationality is the path of righteousness.